Um, Over here at the end, we have Andy Jenks. Next to him, we have Vipul Sinha. Next to him, we have Tim Guilleri. And then on the end, we have Robert Scoble. We're going to go ahead and get started with the top 5 data startups, and the first one up is Micello.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ankit. I'm the founder and CEO of Micello. Hope you're all having a good conference. I'm excited here. I'm excited to share with you what we're doing at Micello. Think of us as Google Maps inside a building. Google Maps inside a building. We're mapping out everything indoors. We're a team of 30 people in 4 cities. We're cash flow positive, making money, and we're just changing the location-based world inside out. For any mapping company, the most important question is, hey, how many maps do you actually have? We have the world's largest collection of indoor maps, spanning over 4,000 places throughout the United States, Japan, and Singapore. This is the largest ever assembled collection of indoor data. It includes shopping malls, airports, and really we're driven by our customers. Whichever maps our customers tell us to do first, get done first. We're making this data available for everybody else to use as well. So what does a map actually look like? So a couple days ago, we mapped out Reliant Stadium. For all you sports fans out there, that's where the NCAA Finals is happening this afternoon. But we're mapping out everything. We're location agnostic stadiums, hospitals, business campuses, airports, museums, college campuses, high schools, any place where people gather. We're mapping it out really fast, really quick, and really cheap. For the first time ever, I'm going to share with you some detailed insights on the underlying database of data that we're building. First off, the 4,000 places that we have represent over 2 billion square feet of area coverage. The maps themselves, the number of geometries span in hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Our map is not a picture. It's actually a combination of thousands of objects coming together to look like a map. Buildings, stores, escalators, obstructions, parking lots, all kind of, in a sense, seamlessly come together for you to represent what a map looks like. Again, from the mapping and data perspective, this data has never been created before, and we're pioneering the wave of indoor LBS. I'm very excited to announce that about 100 hours ago, we opened the first ever set of indoor map APIs. So all the maps we have, you can use in your own applications. This has been in private beta for the last 90 days, and companies are building applications like integrating LinkedIn with a conference map, so you can find your connections at an event, or integrating turn-by-turn walking directions on an airport map so you can get to the gate, or integrating Facebook on a college campus map so you can find your friends. There's all kinds of interesting data that people generate when they're inside a bounded area like a shopping mall or an airport. And once you have the map, you suddenly have a container for all this information. And we're, in a sense, pioneering the new wave of LBS applications all around indoors. Thank you.
Thanks. We're going to have now 2 minutes of questions from the judges.
Ankit, this is Tim Guilleri from Sierra. I wanted to ask you, what's the revenue model that you see both for, I guess, public data and for enterprise data of malls and stuff, or I guess there is a monetization model?
Sure. We have 2 revenue streams in place. The first is we license our indoor map data to the outdoor map-making guys. So in the near future, as you zoom in on the outdoor maps, and if you see an indoor map, there's a very good chance it's coming from us. And second, we do charge for usage of our APIs. There's different terms in place depending on if the application is publicly available or for a private location, but we do charge for usage of our maps. It's a couple pennies for every map session. It gives you access to all of our navigation data, all of our geometries, and I think it gives you all the map data you would ever need for any of the places.
Is there any way to show where you are inside like a shopping mall and give directions to various places?
Absolutely. We're very excited. Our maps are geo-accurate. So when you turn it on an iPhone or an Android, your position is approximated based on what the device recognizes it to be. At the same time, we're working with, or actually we've seen about 25 different indoor positioning companies come our way. We've become a magnet for those companies because they need us to prove that indoor positioning works. And we're very bullish about a few of those companies. And as soon as towards the end of 2011, we expect some of these companies to be commercialized and to bring about 1 to 2 meter level accuracy as well. So that opens up the retail environment, for example. You can have maps of Home Depot and Costco and actually track people and give navigation data. Okay, go ahead.
What drives people to use your app then?
For us, our application is a reference. It's a teaser for people to start thinking about, once you have an indoor map, what can you do? Our reference app lets you do things like product search, navigation, and again, we're really teasing the bigger companies who are really good at product search and really good at navigation into using our maps.
Okay, we're gonna have to cut those. We're gonna have to cut the questions off and make sure that everybody's fair on time. So thanks, Ankit.
Cool, thank you.
Next up, we have Mashape. So if Mashape will come on up.
So, hi everybody, I'm Marco, I'm with Mike. We are the co-founders of Mashape, which is a marketplace for cloud APIs. So, today we are witnessing an explosion of cloud services, of APIs, of data, and APIs are becoming the primary way to access all this information. For example, Twitter has more API calls than page views. Google alone has more than 100 APIs, and every company today must have an API to get developers involved in creating an ecosystem around the application and the service. And there are so many APIs, then everybody, there's too much of something. There are always two problems. It's hard to distribute, and it's hard to find. This is why we have created Mashape. It's a unified place for sellers to distribute their API and for third-party developers to easily integrate those APIs into their services, because we provide a standard documentation, we provide standard client libraries, so that today when a developer wants to consume APIs, he got stuck in different documentation, thousands of client libraries that do the same thing. In Mashape, the client libraries are standardized, so when a developer knows how to consume one API, he knows how to consume them all. APIs can be free or not. If not, we have a billing add-on that the seller can put on top of the API infrastructure, and the billing add-on is one of our internal add-ons. We have also the analytics, the request limit, and more to come. But how much value can we extract from this? So we don't know it exactly, but we know 3 things for sure 5 years from now. The first thing is that new apps and services will be created easier and cheaper using third-party components. If a service is like a Lego construction, we are like the Lego box, where the developers can pick the right component, the right API he needs, and integrate it faster into the application. The second thing we know is that the market will be worth 150 billion, according to Gartner, on 2014, but we don't believe Gartner. We think that the market will be much more bigger because of the Internet of Things. There will be billions of devices connected to the Internet. And the CEO of Ericsson says that before 2020, we will have 50 billion of objects connected. There will be a huge amount of data exchange between all those services, between all those devices, and data is money. So, this is Mashape. This is the team. I'm Marco, Mike is there, Augusto is not here, and we are a team of API fanatics with a big vision in mind. We want one API delivered into every service or thing connected to the internet one day. So we are still in private alpha, we launched it in November 2010, and thanks for listening.
I've got one. Andy Jenks from EMC Ventures. Two questions. They're related. One is differentiation, because we see this kind of cross, and adoption. So differentiation and adoption. What are those two metrics?
So there's no a marketplace today where developers can find APIs. We give traction to sellers instead of putting the API link in the footer that nobody sees that, they can distribute their API into the marketplace and get traction. We have thousands now of developers that are looking for APIs that are hungry to hack on them. So we want to be the place to distribute, maintain, and consume APIs. We standardize the APIs. We auto-generate the client libraries for those APIs. We want to make all the process easier for the consumer and easier for the seller even, because
Marco, how many was the question?
Yeah.
Number.
how many APIs we have?
No, adoption of your product. in
Oh,
the
we
space.
have 2,000 active developers now, and 1,000 more to invite. But we are waiting for that because we are releasing some new cool features next week, and so we will invite them the next week. So 2,000 active now.
You can have a lot of different kind of data. So what kind of verticals are you focusing on? Market data or supply chain data? I mean, what kind of data you're focused on?
Any kind of data. There are APIs that can do anything. They can be also not only APIs to services, but also standalone components. So for example, a developer after work can make in 2 hours an image resizing component and sell it on my shape, and I can integrate this component, this API, into my application, for example, to resize images. I don't have to do that if somebody else has done it.
Do you, what value do you add on top of the API? Do you add metadata? Do you standardize it in somewhere? Do you package it?
So every API has an XML description. This means that we know what the API does, and so we know the methods, the information that it's exchanged. We don't have metadata on methods, but every method, every parameter has a full description, so that they are not tagged, they are described.
And does each API show me how much that will cost over time? I mean, we just saw DataSift announced here, and they're charging a certain amount per call or per.
Yeah, there is like a subscription mode, so the seller can decide to, for example, create a plan, a professional plan that costs $10 per every 5,000 requests. And every additional request is, for example, 2 cents or 3 cents. So that is shown in the API profile. Every API has a profile so that the consumer can see that.
Okay, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice shape. Thanks, Marco. Next up, we have PlantSense.
Okay, my name is Matt. I'm an architect at a company called PlantSense. I'm here to pitch the EasyBloom plant sensor, currently being sold under the Black & Decker name PlantSmart. Got it. Sorry. So our product, we really tried to solve the problem of what can I plant here and what's wrong with this plant. It's a common problem, and it's not all that easy to solve. The solution we found was a sensor, a lightweight client software that runs on your Mac or PC, and really the product is a website. The sensor is just a gateway to the web and a way to convey the user and the user's information to the web. The sensor itself it comes in 2 parts. There's a top piece that measures light, temperature, humidity, runs on a AAA battery, and has a data logger that holds data for 2 to 3 weeks, up to 2 to 3 weeks. The bottom piece is a soil sensor. It measures soil moisture, soil fertilizer, and soil temperature. When you plug in the sensor to your PC, it takes you to our website. All the controls are through the website via an API and the client software that's running on your desktop. There's basically 3 modes you can set it in. I'm going to talk about a couple of them. The first one is recommend mode. So based on 24 hours of data, your zip code, so your geolocation, your climate, and your weather for that 24 hours, we can tell you accurately what plants you can grow in that spot where you took the data. We have over 6,000 plants in our database. and some of the plants you can buy online. Another mode that we use is monitor mode. Monitor mode, you tell it what plant you're going to monitor. So I say I'm going to monitor my peperomia. And when I plug it in, I get very specific, actionable advice on what I'm doing wrong. So in this case, my soil moisture is okay, the plant is not getting enough sun, and it needs fertilizer. And we're recommending a specific fertilizer. So that's another potential marketing tie-in. As I said, we have over 6,000 plants. We have, for each of those plants, we have data that's maintained by horticulturalists. So what's our future? Well, we're focusing on online services. The fertilizer box I just showed you is a pay-for service. We charge a subscription fee to unlock that data. We're also exploring some things that we do for free currently, personalized plant care information and emails. And we're working on an integrated pest management product that takes the sensor data and tells you what pests you might be at risk for and what you can fix those problems with. We're raising money for marketing, and we're working on a wireless version of the sensor for 2012. Thank you.
Okay, that's PlantSense. A couple minutes of questions.
So I met your company a year ago. Can you, and I know you were doing the Black & Decker OEM at the time, can you talk about some traction, like how many of these have you sold, and what's the traction of the sensor since you've been in the market, I think, for over a year?
Well, our users number in the tens of thousands. Black & Decker was having trouble with marketing initially, even though that's kind of their thing. We had to teach them a lot about marketing online because they didn't know much about it. At this point, they are outselling what we were doing a year ago, but it took us a little while to get them there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, what's the growth? Like, where were you and what's it today?
I'm not the right person. I'm the architect. I'm really not the right person to ask that question. I can put you in contact with the guy who can. I think you know him.
What price point are you guys selling at?
Black & Decker's selling it for $50.
$50, okay.
And we'd like to, the wireless version that we'll be selling in 2012, we'd like to sell for $30. We'd like to give them away for free, and we'd like to have partners eventually. Black & Decker's a great partner because they handle all the costs associated with manufacture, distribution, marketing, and sales. What they lack that we really want to see is a partner that sees the value of the website. So Black & Decker doesn't really understand that there's a lot more money to be made on the web than from selling the actual widget. They just want to sell the widget.
The wireless one is interesting because I see that farmers might be able to use this. Is that something that you're thinking about? Because somebody who has 6,000 acres of grapes, for instance, might want to put these on every acre to make sure that their grapes are being fed right.
Yeah, and the wireless sensor is really interesting because the farmers do have that technology, many of them, and they pay thousands of dollars for it and money for people to analyze the raw data. So we could be getting into, with the wireless version, a pretty disruptive scenario.
How big is the area that you measure with one of those devices? What's the size?
It measures the area directly around it, so it just depends on how homogeneous your landscape is. If you have a very hilly landscape with lots of trees and lots of variation, you have to move it around a lot to get good data. But if your land is flat, has consistent soil.
If I had 1,000 acres of flat land in Texas.
Put it right in the middle and use that data, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, thanks, guys. And thanks to PlantSense.
Thanks.
Next up, we have Minus.
Hi everyone, my name is John Shea, currently a senior at Babson College, and I'm the co-founder of Minus. So, Minus is the simplest and easiest way to share. You could share anything from photos, music, documents, files, any way you like, using any devices or platforms that's available to you onto Minus. Essentially, the simple and universal way of sharing. So my partner, Carl, and I actually came up with the idea of Minus last year in September. And we really wanted to revolutionize and change the way that you share. And we wanted to solve the problem of simple sharing, allowing anyone, enabling anyone to share. So our solution was to create the universal sharing platform that focuses on sustainability, on usability, and also simplicity and universality. So since launch in end of October 2010, we've had over millions of billions of hits served. We have over 100,000 active users, over 1 million uploads, and we generate tens of thousands of API calls per day with over 25 gigabyte of data in the backend per day as well. And really, this is just the beginning, and the momentum is still going extremely strong, and there's so much that we can do with the data alone. So just how simple is Minus? The website itself is min.us, and you could just drag and drop files, photos, anywhere you want from your folder or desktop onto the website itself, and bam, you're creating a link and that you could share and collaborate with others that you could view, download, anything they want. Additionally, you could publish collections of files that you're sharing onto your actual Minus profile, where others can follow you, get notifications, and the galleries and collections itself is actually interactive. So you could watch a video, listen to a song, read a document, and also look at photos. It is really that simple. So one thing that we want to tackle is universal sharing. Not only can you share from our website itself, no registration required, you don't need to download anything. We've also released a desktop application for Windows, Mac, Ubuntu Linux, as well as mobile for Android, iOS, Windows Phone 7, and browser extensions for Firefox 4 and Google Chrome. And here's just a little quick preview of what that is. And I guess to summarize it, the future of sharing is here, and this is Minus. Thank you very much.
How do you plan to make money?
Yeah, that's a question that brings up a lot. So we've thought about a lot of different ideas. We've been approached by so many different people wanting to pay us to use Minus with more features and more capabilities. So for example, Discovery Channel wants to create an internal sharing system, for their staff and workers and sharing media and files. And one thing that we've thought about is creating a separate Minus, a separate deployment. So discovery.min.us, in which case it's private, protected, separate deployment on Amazon S3, a separate bucket, completely private and allowing them to customize. But the data itself, we have so many entries, so many tables that we could really utilize that as well. And there's always the freemium model of going with, that 1 million users with 2-3% conversion. So the consumer end, we could do freemium. There's the business end, and then there's the enterprise level as well. In which case, for example, Ohio State University approached us saying if we could have an enterprise deployment for their school. Obviously, they have to install Minus in their data center, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of ideas we haven't really solidified, and it's too early to think about it, but we have a lot of ideas.
Is there a limit on file size? Because one of the last things I want to share with everybody is video files, and they're huge.
Yeah, so we started off with 10 megabyte per file max, unlimited bandwidth, unlimited files you can upload. Now it's 25 megabyte.
Yeah, it's not enough for me.
And the reason why we're doing that is we're trying to control and limit, the kind of stuff that people can share, such as Blu-ray DVDs, or maybe they want to share Adobe Photoshop or something. But essentially, in the future, we're going to allow you to do anything you want. But right now, we're just trying to control the cost. And everything that's being shared right now on Minus is of real value that people really created themselves, or it could be artwork, it could be music collection, so on and so forth. So we could do it in the future, just not now.
John, who's competition? Obviously, there's Dropbox and other guys that do this. So how do you differentiate?
So I think a good thing is you could think about email attachments, you could think about FTP, you could think about SharePoint, Usendit, all those guys, and of course Dropbox, Box. But Dropbox and Box more focuses on, I think, file syncing, backup, more so than sharing. They have an aspect to sharing, and our focus is going to be sharing, accessing anything, sharing anything, but doing so universally from all platforms with the focus on the web. And we believe that's going to be the future. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
That's Minus. And finally, for our fifth data startup, we have Chartio.
Welcome to Chartio. We were part of the Y Combinator class of 2010, and our big vision is to democratize/disrupt business intelligence. So the best way to describe our product is Google Analytics for databases. So if you're a web business right now, there are a bunch of tools that you can use to track the front end of things. Use Google Analytics to track funnels or uniques or bounces. That only gives you a really limited and superficial view of your business. most of your data is being tracked in your database. And right now, actually getting to that data and pulling it out and then analyzing it is a huge pain in the ass for companies, which is why we built Chartio. Chartio sits on top of your database and lets anyone in a company easily analyze their data. So let's just pretend you've hooked up to Chartio. The first thing that'll happen is we will auto-analyze your schema. Here we're working with the public data set from Stack Overflow, and we're looking at tens and tens of millions of rows. I hate the trackpad on PC. At this point, okay. So we've generated charts. In a second, a few more will appear. But at this point, most charts that most companies need are actually showing up. So Stack Overflow has comments, it has posts. We'll drill a bit deeper into the comments and see what that looks like. So on the left here, where it says Stack Overflow, that is your database. You can have multiple databases. The lighter gray boxes are the tables, and those drill into the columns themselves. So let's create a metric for our company. Man, this sucks. We will add a new layer and compare comments to posts on Stack Overflow. So all you have to do is drag the table itself. We'll automatically infer what you probably want to chart. And I'll take just a second, and it'll show up as a chart. There you go. So now you have new comments and posts per week on Stack Overflow. So let me actually delete the post. 1 second. And just as an FYI, if you're a developer and you want to write SQL directly, you can always switch to SQL mode and write whatever you want to write. Let me just show you one more powerful thing. Let's say you want to dig even deeper into comments. All you have to do is add a filter, and you can add multiple filters. And let's say we want to look at comments with a score equal to or greater than, say, 8. So highly rated comments. 8. We'll rechart this. And we'll switch this to a bar chart. And there we go. And let's say we even want to dig slightly deeper. We can look at this by hour of the day and see what hour of the day received the highest rated comments. And that's 3 p.m. So that is Chartio in a nutshell.
Okay, couple minutes, questions.
Question on unstructured. How do you go after the unstructured bit of this?
The unstructured?
The unstructured pieces of data that are...
So we don't actually work with unstructured data.
Okay.
There are tons and tons of structured databases out there.
Yep.
At this point, we've seen pretty much every possible data structure for MySQL. Just with experience, we'll do that for Postgres. We'll do that for all the other ones.
So you're not going after like a Splunk type thing?
No. Splunk goes after the logs,
Yep.
all unstructured. There's, in our opinion, there's a much bigger opportunity just with people who have databases that don't have affordable or usable tools to make sense of the data.
Okay.
So Dave, it's a very crowded space. We've talked about this before. What is the go-to-market in breaking into this analytics space, and really creating a scalable business?
Yeah, so it's crowded if you look up market. So if you look to the mid-market, you have Burst, you have Tableau, you have Good Data, and then if you look above that, you have Microsoft and all those guys. Both mid-market and sort of the enterprise sell really, really expensive tools that are frankly quite hard to use and most people don't want to use. So our method for getting into the market is to start with the SMB, build a very affordable tool that anyone in an SMB would like, and so far, the numbers are on our side. We have about 2,500, at this point, 2,600 companies on our waiting list. It's growing about 20 a day. We have literally people begging us to get into this. So there's a ton of hunger at the SMB level. And as we get good and better, our features are nearly as powerful as any of our mid-market competitors. We're just simpler and more easy to use. So we'll have bigger companies coming down and asking us to participate.
If you're a small flower shop, how much does this cost to adopt and use?
So flower shops just we're not going after any brick and mortar stores. We're going purely after web businesses, so e-commerce, social gaming.
Flowers.com, right?
Flowers.com. Okay, so Flowers.com wanted to use this. It would range anywhere from $49 a month to $600 a month on the basis of various dimensions of features, but still priced well below any of our even mid-market competitors.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Chartio.
Thank you.